I live in one of those rural areas, a small town with a couple stores and restaurants and really not that much to do. Branching from town are a couple of neighborhoods, and if you go just a little bit farther in one direction, you find a military research base. A public road cuts through the base, with barbed fences on each side and an entry point located in the middle. One side of the base has tall buildings, at least for a rural area, overlooking a cliff, with the other side having a massive warehouse building. Despite the outside looking old and rusted, you can glimpse some high-tech machinery entering and exiting the building with an odd insignia on the side. On the other side of the road, with the giant warehouse, the base fences off into the woods. Deer learn very quickly that if they jump the fence into the military base, they can avoid being shot at, and then the hunters learn to stalk the herds and learn when they will head to the base, snagging them right before they are off limits. That's where I found myself when it happened. The morning of the event, I woke up and dragged myself to the kitchen to eat some cereal, the usual. I opened my fridge to grab a carton of milk and opened the cabinet to grab the box, beginning munching as I read yesterday's newspaper. I crunch on my food and think about the plan of action for the day. It was about 4 in the morning, and if I wanted to catch deer before they made the jump, I had to act real soon. I didn't have to worry about other hunters, since the woods were far enough for everyone to get a turn. I eyed my rifle, leaning in the corner of the front hallway while I drank some more milk. I popped the newspaper on the table, opened the sports section, and a couple large pictures of a missing kid from a couple of years ago at the bottom of the page, blankly facing up as if he was staring at my ceiling. Creepy. I get up and go to grab my gear and my high visibility vest. Prepping for the day was normal enough, made sure to grab all of my essentials, especially my knife, and I walk out to my pickup and throw some stuff with my bag in the back before I jump in the driver's seat, slammed the door shut, turned on the engine, and enjoyed the smell of burning gasoline before sunrise. It may sound weird, but I found comfort in that smell. I drove through the public road that cuts through the bay so that I could hunt on the far end where most of the deer can be found. Driving through, I noticed something odd out of the corner of my eye. One of the doors to the warehouse was just finishing closing, and inside I could barely make out flashing lights. Well, flashing red lights. Thinking that it was the standard procedure for opening and closing the big door, I thought nothing more of it. Only did it occur to me while I'm writing this that I have seen the door open and close before, but never have I actually seen lights inside. It was always pitch black, a disturbing void. I finally pulled over on the side of the road and got myself situated for the hours to come. I couldn't spend as much time hunting as I wanted, but a little was better than nothing. I got everything locked and loaded and my pockets filled with the practical necessities as I headed out to what will arguably be my worst morning ever. Everything was running smoothly. I hadn't seen any movement quite yet, but I knew the deer were coming. So I huddled patiently in my little hideout I made from leaves and sticks, when I finally saw it. Movement. But it wasn't a damn deer. The thing emerged from behind a tree, limping and desperately searching for something, covered in what looked like a freshly tattered uniform. First thing that was wrong with it, out of a list of many damn reasons, was the fact that it was bipedal, hunched over on its 2 feet. It looked like its skin was barely hanging onto its flesh, with gaping, oozing wounds all over its body combined with nasty scars. Its eyes were null of life, colored black and empty. The nose was torn off, leaving a bloodied mess of a hole behind, and its labored, wheezing breath was coming out of a toothless mouth. It was covered in scars and wounds, fresh and old alike. As soon as all of this information processed through my mind, the thing stopped moving. It turned its head to me, but not in any natural motion. The movement was rigid, as if it was a stop-motion clay project. When it looked at me, its head bent crookedly, and I swear I saw the fucking thing smile. I looked down at my rifle for a second to make sure the safety was off. In the split second it took me to look down and back up again, the thing was right in front of my face. I saw the horrid skin on its face, and the smell of rotting decomposition enough to make me want to vomit. The thing opened its mouth to reveal that it did in fact have teeth, but they were too small to see from a distance, lining all over its mouth and down its throat, rotating like a saw. It looked like it had a tongue before, but was since cut off by something with a jagged, rusted edge. I shoved it off of me and backed off, fumbling with my rifle trying to get a clean shot. By the time the thing reoriented itself from being pushed, I was able to squeeze the trigger. I heard a gunshot, but the thing didn't seem affected. In fact, it didn't seem like anything hit it at all. While trying to figure out why my gun made a noise and didn't fire, I noticed that the thing was concentrating on a floating item protruding about a foot from the barrel. The bullet. It seemed like it was stuck in a super short time loop, shaking and straining in the dead space it was hanging in. Eventually, the bullet seemed to lose its momentum and was becoming less jittery. Once it slowed down, the thing stopped focusing on the bullet and turned its attention to me. The bullet fell from its prison and onto the ground as the thing charged at me. I felt cold fear and adrenaline coursing through my veins as I gripped my rifle like a bat and took a swing with all of my might at the thing in front of me. It seemed to not use its strange supernatural ability again, probably not the brightest thing in the world, as the butt of my gun connected with the side of its head, knocking it unconscious. This was the first time I could actually take a moment to observe its clothes. I noticed the same insignia on the breast of the tattered shirt that I had seen on the trucks entering the base outside my house, which led me to question everything about what was really going on there. It was then I could get another good look at its face, only to realize something to my horror. I recognized him. Before I could think anything further, he woke up, but this time he felt different. This time he felt actually awake, conscious, as if he was in a dream state since he left the base. He reached for my gun before I could do anything about it, extended his arms unnaturally, rested the barrel of the gun in his mouth, and, well, I don't want to get into details about what happened next, and the aftermath was all over the place to the point where I couldn't make out any details on his face at all, much less remember where I recognized him from. After recovering from the shock and realizing this was all too much for me, I hightailed it back to my pickup, started the engine and drove as fast as I could home. I took a much longer loop, avoiding having to go through the base again. Eventually, I finally made it home, but the thing still haunted me as I went through the door of my house. Where have I seen him before? I shake off the feelings of being in danger and sit down at my table. Distraught, my head was buried in my hands as I was trying to convince myself that I wasn't insane. What felt like 10 minutes went by before I looked up, and then I saw the newspaper, and then I remembered.